That $200 first aid kit sitting in your closet right now is going to get someone killed. I know that sounds extreme, but open it up and count what's actually useful. 40 tiny band-aids that won't cover a real wound. Alcohol wipes that dried out 6 months ago. It's cotton balls, tweezers, a cheap pair of scissors. 200 pieces of almost nothing. In a real collapse with no hospital, no ambulance, number 911, that kit fails before the first week is over. I've studied what actually kills people when medical access disappears. Comes down to three things: infection, uncontrolled bleeding, and dehydration. 4 items costing under $250 total. Stop all 3. And number 4 costs 50 cents, but replaces a $3,000 hospital for drip. Everything else in those fancy kits is expensive filler, designed to look impressive and do nothing. Let me show you what actually saves lives. Number 1. Wound care, antibiotic ointment, betadine. And real bandages in every collapse ever documented, whether it's war, hurricane, or economic breakdown. Infection kills more people than bullets, starvation, and exposure combined. And it always starts the same way. Something so small you wouldn't think twice about it today. A cut on your hand while splitting firewood. A blister from walking miles to haul water. Scrape from clearing storm debris. In normal life, you wash it, cover it, forget it. But in a collapse where there's no clean running water, no doctor, no pharmacy, that tiny wound becomes the most dangerous thing in your life. Here's how fast it happens. The cut gets dirty. Bacteria enters broken skin. Within 48 hours, the area is red, swollen, throbbing with heat. Within 72 hours, red streaks start crawling up your arm, toward your heart. That's blood poisoning, sepsis. And without 4 antibiotics in a hospital, sepsis kills. This isn't speculation. This is documented history on repeat. During the American Civil War, more soldiers died from infected wounds than from combat. Surgeons amputated entire limbs not because the injury was severe, but because they had no way to stop the infection spreading. After Hurricane Katrina, people died from infected cuts because pharmacies were underwater and hospitals were overwhelmed. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, the exact same pattern. Simple wounds became death sentences because the medical system vanished overnight. In modern America, we live inside a bubble of antibiotics and emergency rooms. Take them for granted like electricity and running water. But the moment that bubble pops, we go straight back to 1800s mortality rates. A kitchen cut becomes a crisis. A blister becomes a threat. A child's scraped knee becomes a fight for their life. This is why wound care is the single most important medical item in your stockpile. Nothing else comes close. Here's exactly what you need. First, triple antibiotic ointment, generic Neosporin, $4 to $6 per tube. This is your frontline defense. Anytime skin is broken, clean the wound and apply immediately. It kills bacteria before infection takes hold. Stock 10 to 15 tubes. That's roughly $70 for a supply that could save your family's lives multiple times over. Official shelf life is 2 to 3 years, but stored cool in dark antibiotic ointment stays effective far beyond the printed date. Second, betadine, povidone iodine solution. The same antiseptic used in hospital operating rooms to sterilize skin before surgery. When you have a deep wound, a dirty wound, something that ointment alone can't handle, betadine is your heavy weapon. Flush the wound, kill everything, then seal with ointment. But here's what makes betadine a true survival tool. It also purifies water. Few drops in questionable water kills bacteria, viruses, and parasites. It's 1 bottle, 2 critical survival functions, $5 to $8. Third, raw honey. And I don't mean the processed stuff in the plastic bear bottle. Raw, unfiltered honey is naturally antimicrobial. The FDA has cleared medical-grade honey for wound treatment. Hospitals use it. Military medics carry it. When your antibiotic ointment runs out in year 2 of a prolonged crisis, honey becomes your renewable, infinite wound care system, and it never expires. Archaeologists found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs that was still edible. No medicine on earth can match that shelf life. Fourth, real bandages, not the tiny adhesive strips in your Amazon kit. Israeli compression bandages at $8 to $10 each. Ooze rolls at $3 to $5 per pack. Medical tape at $2 to $3. These handle real wounds, deep cuts, punctures, lacerations. The kind of injuries that actually happen when you're doing physical survival work every day. Total wound care cost, under $100. Compare that to the $200 first aid kit that gives you one tiny tube of ointment. 40 useless band-aids and a tourniquet you don't know how to use. One system is designed to look impressive on a shelf. The other is designed to keep your family alive. Number 2. Pain and inflammation control. Ibuprofen and aspirin, picture this. It's day 10 of a power grid failure. You've been hauling water from a creek half a mile away in 5-gallon buckets, 30 pounds each, twice a day. Your back has been screaming for 3 days, but you've pushed through because your family needs water. Then one morning, you wake up and you physically cannot stand. Your lower back has locked up completely. The inflammation in your joints has turned every movement into agony. You're lying on the floor of your own home, unable to function. No water gets hauled that day. No firewood gets chopped. No meals get prepared. No perimeter gets checked. Strongest person in the household, the one everyone depends on, is down. And in a collapse, being down doesn't just mean discomfort. It means your family goes without. That's what people don't understand about pain in a survival situation. Pain isn't just unpleasant. Pain is operationally crippling. It turns providers into patients. It turns strength into helplessness. It doesn't require dramatic injury. A twisted ankle stepping over debris. A migraine from dehydration and stress. A toothache that becomes an abscess with no dentist within 100 miles. In normal life, you pop to Advil and move on. In a collapse with empty pharmacies and no medical care, that toothache gets worse every day. It steals your sleep. It wrecks your concentration. It makes eating impossible. Within a week, you've gone from discomfort to disability. All because you didn't stockpile a $10 bottle of pills. Here's what you need. Ibuprofen, generic bulk bottle. 500 to 1,000 tablets. Available at Costco, Walmart, any dollar store. Ibuprofen is arguably the most versatile medicine ever created. It does 3 things simultaneously. Kills pain, reduces inflammation, and lowers fever. That triple action makes it irreplaceable. Muscle pain from labor, ibuprofen. Joint swelling from repetitive work, ibuprofen. Fever from infection, ibuprofen. Toothache, ibuprofen. Headache, ibuprofen. One medicine covering 5 of the most common medical emergencies in a collapse. Then aspirin. And this is critical because aspirin serves a completely different emergency function. Heart attack response. In a collapse with no ambulance, no paramedics, if someone experiences chest pain, chewing aspirin immediately can be the difference between life and death. Thinks blood and helps dissolve the clot causing the attack. Cardiologists recommend this even in normal times. In a collapse where no first responder is coming, aspirin becomes your only cardiac emergency tool. Now, here's something the pharmaceutical industry would rather you didn't know. Those expiration dates on your bottles? Extremely conservative. The military studied this extensively. They tested stockpiled medications years past, printed expiration dates, and found that common medicines, including ibuprofen and aspirin, retained over 90% potency 5 to 15 years beyond the stamped date. A bottle that expired 3 years ago still works. It might take 3 tablets instead of 2, but it reduces your pain and fever. Every bottle you buy today isn't a 2-year supply. It's potentially a decade of pain management for $10. 500 generic ibuprofen at Costco, $8 to $12. 500 generic aspirin, $6 to $10. Under $20 for years of pain relief, fever control, anti-inflammatory protection, and cardiac emergency response for your entire family. $20. It's less than a pizza delivery for a decade of medical protection. Compare that to the $200 kit that includes maybe 20 tablets of each. You're paying 10 times more for 1/20th of the supply. Number 3. Bleeding control, tourniquet, quick clot, and pressure bandage infection kills over days. Pain disables over hours, but uncontrolled bleeding kills in minutes. And this is the one emergency where there is zero margin for error and zero time to figure things out. 3 to 5 minutes. That's how long the average person has before a major bleed becomes fatal. 300 seconds between life and death. And in a collapse, the situations that cause serious bleeding aren't rare. They're daily risks. Chainsaw kicks back while you're processing firewood. A piece of broken glass slices deep while clearing storm damage. Nail punctures through your boot while walking through debris. A knife slips while butchering game. An axe glances off wood and hits your leg. These aren't extreme scenarios. These are the ordinary accidents that happen when people do physical survival work every single day without the safety nets of modern life. No steel-toed boots, no safety glasses, no workplace regulations. Just you, sharp tools and hard labor. In normal life, you call 911. Paramedics arrive in 8 minutes with clotting agents, pressure bandages, and the training to use them. In a collapse, nobody is coming. Your family is standing over you watching blood pour from a wound, and they have nothing except that $200 kit full of tiny Band-Aids and cotton balls. Try stopping arterial bleeding with a cotton ball. You can't. That person dies while the family watches, helpless, holding a kit that was never designed for a real emergency. Here's what actually stops life-threatening bleeding. First, a CAT tourniquet. Combat Application Tourniquet. $25 to $30. This is the exact same tourniquet the United States military issues to every single soldier deployed into combat. It's been proven in thousands of real-world emergencies. It works. And before anyone says you need extensive training to use one, let me address that directly. The survival industry has built a myth that tourniquets require professional medical training. That's partially true for complex scenarios. But the basic application that saves lives in 90% of limb bleeding emergencies takes 5 minutes to learn. Slide it on the limb above the wound. Pull the strap tight. Twist the windlass until the bleeding stops. Lock the windlass in place. That's it. A 12-year-old can learn this in a single practice session. Go to YouTube right now and watch one military tourniquet demonstration. Practice on your own arm twice. Congratulations! You now have a skill that can save someone's life in under 60 seconds. And if you want formal training, Stop the Bleed is a free 1-hour course offered at hospitals across America. 1 hour of your time gives you bleeding control knowledge that could keep your family alive. No excuse to skip it. Second, Quick Clot Hemostatic Gauze. $10 to $15 per pack. This gauze contains a clotting agent, K-alin, that accelerates your body's natural blood clotting process. For wounds where a tourniquet can't be applied, torso injuries, neck wounds, groin injuries, Quick Clot is your answer. Pack the gauze into the wound, apply firm pressure for 3 minutes, and the clotting agent goes to work. It's not magic. It's chemistry. And it saved countless lives in military and civilian emergencies. Third, Israeli compression bandages, also called emergency bandages, $8 to $10 each. This is a pressure bandage with a built-in compression bar that applies direct, sustained pressure to a wound. One bandage replaces an entire roll of gauze, yards of tape, and the amateur wrapping technique that falls apart under stress. You place it over the wound, wrap it tight, clip it in place. Consistent pressure. No slipping, no unraveling. It was designed for combat medics working under fire with shaking hands and limited time. If it works in a war zone, it works in your living room. Buy 2 CAT tourniquets, 2 packs of Quick Clot gauze, 3 Israeli bandages, total cost, roughly $100. Compare that to the cheap Chinese tourniquet included in your Amazon first aid kit. The one with plastic parts that snap under tension. The one that was never tested on a real wound. The one you'd never trust your child's life to. There's a reason the military doesn't buy the cheap version. In a bleeding emergency, equipment failure means death. Spend the $100. Buy proven gear. Practice once. And pray you never need it. But if you do, you'll have 300 seconds and the right tools to save a life. Number 4. Rehydration Defense. ORS. Antidiarrheal. In electrolytes, everything I've shown you so far handles the emergencies you can see. The cut, the pain, the blood. But the fourth item fights the killer you can't see. The silent one. The one that has taken more lives in every disaster, every famine, every collapse in recorded human history than infection, bleeding, and pain combined. Dehydration from diarrheal illness. I know it doesn't sound dramatic. It doesn't make for exciting survival content. But here are the numbers that should terrify every person watching this. The World Health Organization has tracked crisis mortality for decades. In disaster zones, refugee camps, and collapsed economies worldwide, The pattern is identical every single time. Water systems fail. People drink contaminated water because they have no choice. Within days, gastrointestinal illness rips through the population, and then the dying starts. Adults lose liters of fluid per day. Children lose it faster. Okay. And here's the part that kills. When you're severely dehydrated, drinking plain water isn't enough. Your intestines can't absorb it properly. The water passes through almost as fast as you drink it. People die of dehydration with water sitting right next to them because their body physically cannot use it. In a hospital, the solution is an IV drip. Fluids pumped directly into the bloodstream, bypassing the gut. But in a collapse, there are no hospitals, no 4-bags, no nurses. Oh, you're alone. This is where the fourth item becomes the most important thing in your entire medical stockpile. Oral rehydration salts, ORS. The World Health Organization calls it the most important medical discovery of the 20th century. That's not marketing. That's the global health organization responsible for saving millions of lives making that statement. ORS is a precisely measured combination of salts, sugars, and minerals that allows your intestines to absorb fluid even during severe illness. It does what an IV does, but in a packet you carry in your pocket. It costs 50 cents, weighs nothing. It requires zero medical training, and has saved more lives globally than most surgical procedures combined. Here's what you stockpile. ORS packets in bulk. 50 to 100 packets. Look for WHO formula versions, not sugar-loaded sports drink knockoffs. 25 to 60 cents each. They last years in storage. Single packet can pull someone back from dangerous dehydration in hours. Pedialyte powder packets for children. Children dehydrate catastrophically fast. A stomach bug that merely inconveniences an adult can kill a child through fluid loss in 24 to 48 hours. Having Pedialyte isn't optional if you have kids. It's a parental obligation. A couple dollars per box at any Walmart. Imodium, generic loperamide. This stops diarrhea at the source, reducing the fluid loss while ORS replaces what's already gone. Without Imodium, you're trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. With it, you patch the hole and then refill. That combination, ORS plus Imodium, is the emergency protocol that saves lives when hospitals don't exist. And your free backup that costs literally nothing. Memorize this. Teach it to every person in your family. Write it down and tape it inside your medicine cabinet. 1 liter of clean water, 6 level teaspoons of sugar, half a level teaspoon of salt. Stir until dissolved. That's a homemade oral rehydration solution. Not as precise as the commercial packets, but in a desperate moment when you've run out, this recipe can save a life. Doctors Without Borders teaches this formula in disaster zones around the world. 50 ORS packets, about $25. Pedialyte powder, about $15. Imodium, about $20. Total rehydration defense for your family, $60. $60 to fight the #1 killer in every collapse in human history. And when your neighbor's child is dehydrated and getting worse by the hour, and there's no doctor within 50 miles, that 50-cent packet doesn't just save a life. It replaces a $3,000 hospital for drip with something that fits in your pocket. For items, that's all you need. Wound care to stop infection before it kills. Pain control to keep you on your feet when your family needs you standing. Bleeding control to save a life in 300 seconds. Rehydration defense to fight the silent killer that takes more people than everything else combined. Total cost, under $250. That buys your family real medical protection that covers the actual threats, not a $200 bag of cotton balls designed to look impressive and do nothing. Every one of these items is sitting on a shelf or available online right now. 80% of pharmaceutical ingredients come from overseas. One disruption and pharmacy shelves empty within days. The time to build your medical system is today, not the day after everything falls apart. Tell me in the comments which of these 4 surprised you most. And if you're a nurse, a paramedic, or a doctor watching this, tell me what I missed. Your experience might save another family. Share this with someone you care about. Subscribe because the next video covers the 5 mistakes that destroy your entire stockpile from the inside. And number 1 is something almost every prepper is doing right now without realizing it. Prepare smart. Start today.